Welcome to the Four Rings Inn. Grab a drink and settle in. This is Innsight, the show where our storytellers for our campaign, City of Shadows, spill our secrets on what's been happening the previous episodes. We have finished Act 1.
Woo!
Heck
Yay!
yeah. A big accomplishment. Completing a campaign is hard, and even getting through acts is a big deal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Tonight, I am your innkeeper, John, and with me joins our runic caster, Jake, our runic hunter, Victoria, and mysterious woman, TM, Aubrey. Let's get into it. First thing to talk about, the thing that's on... Actually, no, that's not the thing on everybody's mind. The first thing we'll talk about chronologically is Cinderfall. What did you guys think of the night of the 1st of Asha? Everything from Renshaw getting in the carriage, the battle on the bridge.
It was exactly how I expected to go. Everything went exactly to plan.
Totally.
Yep.
No, it was terrifying because I had no idea what was going to happen going into it. I feel like we spent all of Act 1 trying to plan for it and figure out like as many clues and everything as possible. And it still was like a mystery on what was going to happen.
It's still a mystery of what was supposed to happen.
We did. I think that our meddling, it did something.
Oh, absolutely.
From the fact that, like, I don't know, it was very epic, which, I mean, obviously that's what we wanted. Kudos to John. I loved, when the swarms of monsters started coming in and everything like that. But going into the first episode, I really thought we were going to get it on the bridge. Like, I was ready for combat on the bridge. It was take 2. We were redoing the bridge encounter, and we didn't do it again.
John just doesn't like bridges.
No, John has a thing against bridges.
I have a thing against bridges, I guess.
I mean, we set up the second bridge.
We keep putting us on bridges. John
You set up the first bridge.
I'm not doing a bridge.
Yeah, that's funny.
It's the unabridged.
Oh, it's the abridged. I'm trying to remember a huge part of that plan that ended up being both very beneficial and absolutely ruining Juliet Ketter's life was the pig's blood mixed into the blood. Aubrey, was that completely your idea when we were doing that? I think that was like a spur of the moment thing that Eleanor jumped in at.
My idea was to give them fake blood. To give them blood. I was gonna do it just me. It was, I think, Renshaw who said, "Let's go to the butcher."
Let's go to a butcher.
And then it was a mix. But I think the mix was ultimately the best solution because I got to see the vision.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And Juliet got to be a corrupted little pig fuck.
No, less pig, more bird.
But yeah, the pig's blood mixed with Eleanor's blood. I was like, I couldn't have written that better. Originally, I had planned out what happens if it's all Renshaw's blood. Because there was a moment when the actual chalice was full of Renshaw. Like, it was done. I got everything that... The cult got everything that they wanted. And...
Terrifying.
And then... we got everything we wanted. And then last minute, there was that switcheroo. Also, so devastating to lose the bag of holding. I mean, a great play by Renshaw, but...
yeah, I was scared.
No, he asked me, like, during break, I guess, or something. He was like...
Yeah, I think it was break.
He was like, are you going to be really upset if all your drawings go away? I was like, I mean, it sucks, but do what you got to do. But I was so worried for you because I knew he wanted to break the bag of holding. Never in my life would I assume that he'd be like, excuse me, miss, can I go to the bathroom? And so I was so worried he was going to be like at the horse, like, oh, before we go in, let me just shove my sword through this bag I have. And you just were like, excuse me, I have to go potty.
I must relieve myself. Yeah, that was very funny.
No, Renshaw's so funny because he's such like this serious character, like being a mage and studying and trying to learn the sphere and everything, and then he just has these like little silly awkward moments at times. Like his interactions with other people, like that's supposed to be his job as a viscount, is like learn how to be good with dealing with people. And there were just times when he's just so silly interacting with people.
It was so tough because I was trying to be
It's awesome.
in Mother's mindset, and you're
Yeah.
right before you walk into what she considers like the biggest moment of her life,
Mhm.
and then the person that I've set up to be like the heir to this cult, pretty much, that they've inducted
Yeah.
in again. They've like she's reeled him in to do this. It's like, I just gotta pee. And like how do you, like, it's such a crazy thing to be like, fucking hold it. Like, I don't like.
Yeah.
It really brings it down to reality.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, there's this
Yeah.
epic moment happening. Like, we're leading up to the ceremony. You're walking in through the doors.
I think she
And then
asked,
it's
like, can
so
you wait? And
grounding
he's like,
for you
nope,
to be like, wait, I have to go
No.
pee.
nope.
No, I can't wait.
It has to come now.
That's like when big moments happen in real life and you're expecting this level of grandeur because of movies and books, and then everyone is just human.
I'm just
and
making it more realistic.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
it's just like I'm really nervous to go up on that stage. I gotta take a piss. Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
go piss, girl.
Yeah.
No, I will say that as far as like the themes of a horror campaign, destroying that bag for an innkeeper was perfect, because it was that like perfect realization of like, that was a decision that Jake made completely on his own. He worked with Aubrey to do it, but like, that was a plan that I was not involved with. But it
Mhm.
was like, Renshaw felt like he needed to be desperate enough to destroy everything that his friend has built. And I was like, that's a horror campaign, right?
Mhm.
Like you had the ability to be the hero in that moment, but like at the cost of everything that Eleanor had done. And I was like, that's such a good like horror trope.
And then it didn't even matter. I mean, it
Thanks.
helped,
I mean, yeah, they.
but like, you could have just kept the bag on you. They wouldn't have checked. And they didn't actually need the chalice. Like, in our minds,
it was
we
more
thought they
important.
needed that
Mhm.
chalice, that it was part
Mm.
of the ritual.
Gotcha.
It just wasn't. And it wasn't.
It was. They did need it, but
Yeah, they needed a lot of blood, but they could have
Mhm.
also just like
yeah,
used you.
it wasn't that important.
Yeah.
They wanted to use that blood for multiple rituals
Mhm.
in the coming days. And so the cult really doesn't exist anymore. It's just what the remnants trying to claw things back together.
Hey, look, we did a
We
good job.
We did it. When you had Dayborn come in during that, I was just like, what the fuck? Of course he's here.
Yeah, it's what
But
he's
it
been
was
working
so
towards.
funny because I feel like a level of meta. I had Eleanor asking Orianna and being like, should we tell the police? Should we get them involved? Like, why are just we doing it? And she's like, I don't want to do that. Like, like brushing it off because, like, of course we're the heroes, we're the main characters of this campaign. So the fact that the cops then did actually show up, and it's like, no, like, they had shit to do. Dayborn was like, I'm an idiot, but I'm gonna persevere.
Even Daybor showing up was kind of like not even a sanctioned thing by the Ashen Order, because he didn't involve like any of the Templars. He didn't tell
Yeah.
anybody. He wanted that to be as small as possible so that way him and Orianna could get all the credit.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's why I initially decided not to like tell him that we were going, because I was like, this is just like a fumbling idiot. Like, I don't know if he, what is he gonna do? Like,
I was so excited to reach Renshaw, and Renshaw would be like, no, it's me, and then be like, it's the doppelganger, I found him. And I was like,
Yeah.
what a fun full circle moment.
Yeah, I think also knowing that Renshaw was going to be at the center of the ceremony, I was like, why am I going to bring any Templars or any big name people here that can possibly even like then arrest him or get him in trouble? Like, he's fully there, dressed as a cultist, participating. Yeah. And I think Orianna was more worried about Renshaw's life than bringing in a fumbling little dope and whatever Templars he would think to bring.
We didn't call the cops, and I died.
That's the topic that's been all over my mind. So sad, the death of Eleonore Quillin. Yeah, I'm gonna start with Aubrey kind of on this one. What was it like to have a character die?
I don't even know how to describe it. I will say that it was like harder than I thought it was going to be because it's a fictional character.
Yeah.
And so when we went into that second episode, I started down. And so
Yeah.
I was like, this was a campaign that we talked about. We were like, hey, this is going to be like your characters could die. This is
Yeah.
obviously like Cinderfall's the most dangerous thing. We had monsters flying overhead. Like it was very, very like a intense
Yeah.
situation. So I was
We
like,
knew
oh,
this was
like
like the climax of
yeah.
the act. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like going into it down, I was like, oh, I'm probably not going to survive this. And then I think even the fact that I just made it so long in that episode, and I got back up, and then I'd get down, and then I'd give back up, and it was
There's just a
just like
little
it
bit of
was
hope in there. Yeah.
so long lasting. But I don't know, it's sad. I mean, you build this life for a character, but I did say at the end, I was like, if she dies, she dies. Like I didn't want to do any like resurrection plot. I think that's kind of part of a horror campaign, is that that person's just gone.
Yeah.
And I also did tell John, if I'm going out, let it be with a bang. And
Yeah.
I gave him permission ahead of time to kind of make it more gruesome.
Morbid, yeah.
Yeah, than I think you would have done if I hadn't said something.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a definitely degree of like respect for the character that I wanted to give, and respect for the player as well, for such a both a good performance and for having that character. But when we talked about it, we were like, if there's no body, then there's no like
Yeah.
there's nothing to resurrect. And I was like yeah, that was it was heavy. For Jake and Aubrey, what did you guys not Jake and Aubrey, my wife. Jake and Victoria, what did you guys think of having a player die mid episode?
It's crazy because like Aubrey said, like you don't really realize how attached you get to the characters until they pass away, because it's a fictional character, and so I can't even imagine you role playing that character every single week, getting into the mind of that character, like becoming that character a little bit, and then they die. It's like it's a little piece of you. The whole time I was also thinking of, of my own character's life and being like, all right, how am I going to survive this? How are we going to get out? What am I doing to like protect my own ass? And it's like, I don't want my character to die. Like that's devastating. So just watching it is so hard.
I will say, as the innkeeper, I think the hardest part was the aftermath, which we'll talk about a little bit, big campaign wide, what that aftermath was. But just relating to Eleanor, I think doing the funeral was more emotional, I guess, mainly because me and Aubrey, in those moments close to death, had worked out what we were comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in the mindset of like both respecting Aubrey and being, scary in the moment. And so it wasn't until like the funeral that, like, as the innkeeper getting to play all like those family members, that it was way more emotional for me. I remember getting choked up with Kier when he delivers the
Pictures.
the drawings to Orianna and Renshaw. That was hard to just like get out of my mouth. But it was fun. It was a good scene.
No, it was absolutely necessary to have the whole funeral and everything, and like pay our respects to the character. Not just like in-game pay our respects, but like meta, like all of us, like we have lost a character that we've built into this plot and campaign to like pay our respects to and say goodbye.
Absolutely. And also with the magic of TTRPG, we could always play something in the future taking place before the campaign and get to revisit Eleanor, which could be fun at some point. But or not, or maybe that's the last we ever see of Count Heir Eleanore Quillin. Wild. Next thing on our list. It's tough to move on from that. It's tough to be like, well, she died. Next.
Okay, next.
Anyways.
The aftermath of the first of Asha in the rest of Thalia as things change. What did you guys think about the Enlightened making some big power grabs?
I mean, in hindsight, I saw it coming. Like, it makes perfect sense. But when you said it on camera, I was like, oh, yeah, they're really using this to their advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. Jake, how did you feel about Renshaw losing his personal bodyguard, his house one, when Orianna short?
The bodyguard part, not that bad. I think I can take care of myself. The Orianna part's a little different, but
yeah.
I feel like Act 2 is going to be like a grittier version, where now like everything leading up to that was like something bad's gonna happen, something bad's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Now the something bad thing has happened, and I feel like with like the church like tightening their controls, like, you know, we went into this with that like Salem inspiration, and besides the witch burning in the very first episode, we've kind of like focused more on the cult and the mages, and so I think it's going to be an interesting like new act leading into like watching this stuff brew up, and everyone's more haggard and experienced now.
Mm-hmm.
You're also not going to get invited to as many parties.
Oh yeah.
Your count's
Yeah.
gone.
You lost my count card.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, we're gonna have some really bad social interactions coming up between me and Jake. We're not gonna
We've
get
already
as much
had a
info.
couple.
Jake has saved Renshaw has saved us on one gossip check. I think it was like an unnatural 20 or like a 22. Like, you rolled really well. But aside from that, like, I don't think we've had a good interaction.
No. I don't know. We don't know who this mysterious woman is. Maybe she knows gossip of the town.
A perfect segue into our last topic of talking points. The mysterious woman who is now entered into to Act One. What was it like getting to meet Aubrey's new character? How did you guys feel about that interaction, even with what remains of Julia Ketters?
That whole thing was wild. Mysterious woman, Julia Ketters, just the neighbor, all of it. Everything.
Oh, the neighbor.
The neighbor.
bonkers.
It was a really fun episode because I like Meta knew that Aubrey was going to be coming in soon with her new character, and but it was like I don't know when or where or what's going to happen. So it's like every interaction of that episode, I'm like, all right, is she here? No, okay, she's not. Oh, is she here?
Man, if you'd
No.
been Mrs. Mootbinder,
Oh,
that would have been it.
The funniest thing to me is I did not go in with intentions to not say my name. And I guess like now that we played that interaction, like there wasn't super a moment. I think at the very end you asked me what my name was, but at that point I was leaving. Now it's like so much more shrouded in mystery because like we haven't even like I was like, oh shit,
Mysterious woman.
like I have a name for her, but
Yeah,
we can't even send you letters.
No, yeah, our characters, we didn't have a formal introduction. We don't really know who you are. It was just a quick little like slip in of the character, and then you slip back out, and it was nice little intrigue.
A slip in and a slip out where both of you revealed your like deepest, darkest secrets. And a clear connection, like like this person watched this huge depraved have a personal connection with Renshaw Tierwald, right? Like talking one-on-one with him, clearly has like personal beef. Then cast some runic magic. You then have your ghastly wings, and then peace out. Like that's a crazy day.
I don't know. It was wild. Yeah, when you say it that way, like in front of this complete stranger, we both like,
goodbye.
Let out all of our secrets. But also, we've been holding in all these secrets since the beginning of the campaign. Like I've had all of those abilities since the beginning. Renshaw has had his sphere since episode 2, and like has been working with it. And so the whole Act 1, we're like, all right, it's time to use these abilities whenever we need to, and we just completely disregarded the stranger in the room, and we're like, we're just gonna have fun with this encounter.
Well, and she knows who you guys are.
Yeah, but
I'm running to the highest bidder. I'm gonna be like, I got information.
I'm making money off of this.
You're just some peasant. Who would believe that over?
You have no idea who I am.
We don't know who she is.
That is gonna wrap up our talking points. Now we're going to get into some personal questions, round robin style, between the 4 of us. I'm going to kick it off, as we're already talking about Mysterious Woman TM, with a question to Aubrey. What is it like to introduce a new character midway into the campaign? Did you like this introduction more than like that more generic introduction at the beginning of the campaign?
It was certainly different. I feel like we spent a lot of time for episode 1, like kind of planning like, okay, this is where we're going to be. This is going to be the flow of like that episode. Even working last time, I was working with Tori for Eleanor and Orianna's like joint entrance. And then in this, like having that moment of like actually sitting back down at the table and being like, okay, now you got to snap into it. It it was harder. It was so much harder. And like I think I even said afterwards, I was like, oh, I wanted to do like something a little different with my voice. I was like, I wanted to like stay in character more, but it was so hard to not just be like, I don't know, like laughing at the situation and like, oh hey, like it's been, I mean it was weeks for me to be like, to not playing, to like be sitting back down. You guys don't
Middle
know
of the
as much.
episode.
Middle of the episode, middle of combat.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, also I knew like kind of the situation she was gonna be in when you guys entered, and then John trying to hold the suspense of not describing Juliet first. I was like, shit. I was like, I wrote down in my notes that she's looking at this monster. I was like, I don't know what to do. I was like, I didn't want to take John's moment, but also I'm too nervous to try to off the cuff come up with something different. I was like, well, I think I'm looking at a monster.
I think you did a perfect job. I think that there was no thunder stolen. I think that you were the focus of that scene anyway, and so
You were both trying to not steal each other's thunder.
Yeah.
You were like, this is Aubrey's full moment to explain the scene. And Aubrey's like, there's a monster in the room and John needs to describe it.
I've seen people bring in characters, and especially now that I've watched you bring in a character mid-campaign, like that distinction of being like, all right, Eleanor has all this knowledge about the campaign, which I now have to compartmentalize and be like, nope, I don't know that stuff.
Yeah.
But Aubrey does. But then also be like, now Mysterious Woman knows a different set of information, and now I have to put that in my head and like keep the two things distinct. Yeah, it's a
That's
skill.
crazy.
It's a skill all of its own.
Because even just as a player who didn't lose a character, in my notes I have like a separate colored pen that I take notes where I'm like, I don't actually know this information, but I'm definitely like writing it down because I heard this happen, but I'm like, this is something only Renshaw knows, and so it's in a different color to like compartmentalize. But like having a full character set of knowledge, your full set of knowledge, and then a second character's set of knowledge, like that's a lot.
I'm gonna have a new notebook. Shifting gears, Jacob.
Yeah.
How is Renshaw feeling of the cult of Cinderfall? I know John just earlier gave us a little bit more information about their internal state, but is he worried about facing repercussions for his actions during the first of Asha?
Absolutely not.
No?
Maybe a little.
Yeah,
maybe a little. More from the new depraved that we've invented. Not great, y'all. Otherwise, the cult seems pretty erased. I'm a little worried about the undead guy. And I don't remember what happened to the big guy. The Nell. What happened to Nell?
We weren't there.
Nell is dead. Nell was
Nell
reported
is
as
dead?
Nell is dead.
Did I know that? I liked Nell. He seemed like a good guy.
Well, we did. John told us, I think it was off camera, because we had spent all this time thinking that Nell was the Nox. And John told us off camera, he's like, that's not the Nox, you idiots. You think I'd bring the Nox out in episode 1?
No, not in Act 1. No.
Which is spooky.
Yeah.
It's spookier that our characters don't know that. Our characters are like, Nox, taken care of.
We did it. we beat the game.
We're done. Oh my god, thank God. We didn't talk about this earlier. That Eleanor saw the vision and I had her give it back to Orianna before I died. Because can you imagine if I would have like croaked before sharing that? It's like, you guys don't get to know.
It's the same effect we would have had if your blood wasn't in there at all.
Yeah, but we got this information now.
Victoria, why did you let Renshaw help with her curse now versus just eliminating him from your life?
I don't think Orianna ever wanted to completely eliminate all of her friends from her life, even though she did so for a couple months. But like that was never the plan to like keep it that way like permanently. Like she always wanted to come back and slowly like bring her loved ones back into her life. And so I think all of like leading up of Act 1, she was slowly becoming more comfortable again with Renshaw and becoming more comfortable with her own curse and her problems and like handling it and stuff. And like every time like something would happen or John would make me roll all those wisdom checks and stuff, nothing too devastating happened enough where she was like, all right, I don't think I'm gonna hurt Renshaw with what's happening to me. I don't think he's like physically getting hurt. Like things are pretty handled. And so she felt more comfortable telling him, being like, all right, maybe I can accept some help. And he's willing to help. And so she definitely doesn't want to eliminate him completely.
You didn't want to lose all your friends at the same time?
No, I couldn't. I will ask, I guess, you a question next.
Hi.
With hundreds of depraved entering the city, how successful were we in actually stopping Cinderfall? What were some of the nuances behind Cinderfall that maybe we missed?
Yeah. So I think there's two parts of this that I'll address, and one part I can't really talk about, but I'll hint at some stuff for Act 2. So actual like effectiveness in the ritual, I think you guys were very effective.
Wow.
It didn't feel like it.
Yeah, how's that feel, Eleanor?
From what I imagine Eleanor, if she was still alive, would be able to gather from what she felt from that, was the intent of that ritual was, as that focus came upon that strange, like malevolent axe in the forest, was to pull that axe into the Whistler's Feast. They wanted to gain that axe today. And they had mentioned it in a previous, I think on the first bridge encounter, that they needed Renshore's blood because his blood, his bloodline had seen the axe. They needed somebody who had physically been there and seen it. And neither Eleanor's bloodline nor the pig's bloodline had seen the axe. So the ritual didn't work the way it was supposed to. A thing that Renshore actually didn't witness because he got away fast enough was, in the event that they just took Renshore's blood, the original plan, the way that they were going to like retrieve that malevolent axe was using Nell. There's some property of its eye that could like be used in the ritual to like pull things in, but that all got snuffed out, which isn't great for the cult.
So that's why the Nell was there, was to actually get the physical.
Yeah, it was a part of the ritual. Yeah. Which also explains a little bit of episode 1, why Nell was brought in the first place. Just one of the cultists were a little overeager and didn't realize that when you summon something as dangerous as a Nell, it doesn't just plop in front of you, it comes out.
Yes.
What's Nell's real name?
Nell is a Nothica.
I won't remember that.
That's the type of depraved.
A Nothica.
A Nothica.
Nothica. That sounds pretty.
It does.
For a monster.
It was a pretty monster.
Pretty monster. Let's hit Jake with a question.
Ooh.
Renshore, you just received a mysterious letter from the Watlyn estate regarding Ethra's Grove, the ancestral home of the Tyrvalds. Since the town was lost to the woods even before Renshore was born, I think Arthas was the last person to see the town and the manor. What does Ethra's Grove mean to Renshore?
I mean, like you said, it's his ancestral home. He always kind of wanted to go back. He was always more of a away from everybody kind of person rather than actually in the city kind of person. But it should be interesting to see as we interact with the Watlyns getting back there. It's definitely overgrown. It's been, what, 50-ish years?
Yeah.
So there's some pretty solid trees probably growing in the city square. And it's going to be interesting. I'm excited to go back there for sure.
Heck yeah.
Aubrey, how do you feel about Orianna and Renshore finding out secrets about your grandmother without you there?
The funny thing is, Eleanor wasn't there, and I wasn't there.
Oh, right.
Um,
So how do you feel?
I feel great, and perhaps confused, and perhaps like, along with mysterious woman, that I've missed an episode or two.
Oh, yeah.
But I think Eleanor's grandma was a boss ass bitch, and I will support her no matter what she did. So whatever you learned, I don't care.
Brave statement.
That's awesome.
Is that your official stance?
We're gonna go on the books with that one. Yeah, that's funny. It was weird to be like to have this whole like campaign kind of planned out for Eleanor, and then she's gone, and I was like, those are still very important facets of the world, and so yeah.
Victoria, did learning Renshaw is a mage affect Oriana's deep down feelings towards him? Romantic and just platonic, considering her history. Where is she at?
This is the question
That
I
we
should
like
be asking.
maybe wouldn't have revealed on camera as Oriana, but deep down knowing that he's a mage.
I think like large scale, it didn't really affect her feelings too much.
Mhm.
But like short term, she was uncomfortable with him using the magic around her and not telling her. But also, like, she knew that she was also keeping some secrets from him and she had her own shit going on. And so it also felt like very fair, like one for one. Like, yeah, like I can't blame him for a lot of these things because I was doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And then his willingness to also be like, hey, I've have this magic ability and I'm willing to use it to help you and I want to help you. And so him kind of approaching it in that way of being like, I'm going to do this for you gives her like also a sense of safety. And so she kind of likes that she's like, okay, like he isn't using this for bad. He wants to help me. And so she feels kind of good about like as much as she's like I'm uncomfortable that how it happened, I'm also kind of glad and it's moving in a good direction. My next question will be for Aubrey. Bouncing it right back at you. Did Eleanor have any secrets that didn't get revealed since she passed away so soon on us? Were there any fun like character things that you were holding on to or that you were like waiting to talk about and it just didn't get brought up?
Yeah,
That's
well,
a really good question.
she definitely wasn't the secret keeper out of the three.
Yeah.
I mean, you two had a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
I think Mysterious Woman is coming in with a lot of secrets because Eleanor didn't have any, and I was like, okay, now it's my turn.
Mhm.
I'm gonna be the secret keeper this time.
She didn't share all them with us in the first battle like we shared with her.
So strange. So there's one thing that I had built as a secret for Eleanor, and it was at the very beginning of like character talks and stuff like that, and it became almost like an embarrassing part of her character that like I almost don't want to share it. But so originally, I guess kind of still part of her character, but
Mhm.
she had the fattest crush on Renshaw. Just
I forgot about
the
that.
big, and I don't know if like John, like it was like, do not tell others, like it was on her,
Yeah.
like it's there on her character sheet. But
Mhm.
that was, from my point of view, for one,
That's really awkward. I'm sorry about that.
they grew up as they grew up as like next door neighbors. She had known Renshaw. I mean, they had been friends
Boy
before
next door.
Orianna was even there, and like for her to be such like a romanticizer, like I mean, the boy next door, like of course she's going to have like
Mhm.
a crush on that, like he was a younger brother, so like it wouldn't even like be like this like weird forbidden thing.
It was perfect.
As we kept developing, you guys went from just like, oh, like funny haha exes to like deeply emotional, I am love and pining after this woman exes. And I was like, oh, I was like, oh, she can't really have this crush anymore, can she? This is a little uncomfortable. And so I think it was like part of like her character at one point, but I don't think she was like, originally she was going to be pining after Renshaw, and I kind of couldn't do that when you were pining so hard on Orianna.
That certainly would have made a very different campaign.
Yes.
But there is time still in the campaign. You can see, like, especially in the first episode when we hadn't really like played so much yet, where like you make a joke about going upstairs with Orianna and like taking the clothes off or something like that, and Eleanor goes, and like wrinkles her nose to
No.
it.
Eleanore
Right.
definitely takes care of Renshaw a lot. Like every time Renshaw is upset, like you're the first one to pick up on it and be like, "Are you okay? What's wrong?" Like there's a lot of times where you guys also have moments alone, and Eleanore is just always the support for Renshaw. And so you can definitely see where like maybe if she doesn't like currently have a crush, but like she definitely had feelings for him at some point, and is like, yeah, like I will still be here to be the shoulder that you can lean on and take care of you. And you can definitely see a lot of that throughout the whole first act.
I forgot about that. Yeah. I did know about that.
So,
I did
but
not.
That was her only secret, yeah.
It's a good secret.
John,
Yes.
what are you most excited for going into Act 2 that you can talk about?
Ooh.
Absolutely nothing.
The vault is sealed.
I am excited for a different style of encounters going into the next act. Whereas the previous act was a lot of like
Bridges.
not a lot of bridges, absolutely, and a lot of like mystery and investigation, and like one of the big like moments in my mind was taking the risk to go to see the Spindle Maiden for knowledge, right? Taking risks to get more information. I think the next act is going to be more like the enlightened is bearing down on you, and you got to take risks just to not go to jail, right? Like you got to take risks to keep your family, the Tierval name intact. You got to take risks to make sure that they don't find out about your curse and then kick you out of the Ashen Order, because I'm sure there'll be moments where the only thing that separates the Tierval house going down is Orianna maybe sweeping something under the rug or protecting Renshaw. Like, you know, like those moments of like we have to take risks just to keep things stable, and not like we're taking risks to get something.
Fun.
Yeah, so
that's a lot of pressure.
A you problem.
Yeah,
Actually,
honestly, yeah, it does.
It's fun because like especially coming off of the death of Eleanore, I like having like another like really lethal combat is tough just because like that doesn't feel thematically right. The encounter with Mother could have been lethal, but like it not nearly the same scale as like the first of Asha.
We can't always have dragons descending from the sky and
exactly
lurking us alive in hordes, and
exactly.
Really?
And
sometimes
so
the park just has to be a walk in the park.
yeah, precisely.
Or emotional turmoil for Renshaw.
Yeah, and so to have encounters that are low like HP threats but high like status threats, like still huge stakes for the characters, is going to be really fun.
Terrifying.
Who have I not asked? I asked Aubrey, I asked Jake, Victoria. Orianna has been in a handful of very harrowing combats in this first act. Do you think that in order to mechanically level up, but more for her to get strong enough to break this curse and sustain her and Renshaw, do you think she will look for power through the Ashen Order, or tap into her curse, or look to some other source to gain strength?
She's definitely not looking towards the Ashen Order to get stronger to help her, especially at this point in the act where they're like hunting like Renshaw's family specifically in that tie.
But the Ashen Order also is hunting. They could help you hunt for Resbin.
She is not. She does not want to back her power in the Ashen Order. She'd rather back her power more with Renshaw, and so I think that leads to her leaning into the curse a bit more, knowing that she has that safety with Renshaw. But I think like in her mind, it would be more from like other sources, as you said, like maybe going to Chemet and learning some of the spells that like he knows.
Okay.
And so maybe looking into like some enlightened casting.
Okay.
But or the essential divine
Cure
casting.
wounds up in this bitch.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
But
some cure wounds for once. Yeah.
that would be nice. Maybe figuring out how to do that. Yeah. It's definitely not with the Ashen Order as much as she's there. Cool. But like with them giving her the assignment of like, yeah, we want to arrest the Tiervals. She's like, maybe we got to get out of back away from this a little bit. Jacob, are you worried about how Orianna and Renshaw are going to move forward together into this Act 2, knowing that like her new job assignment is basically to hunt the tear balls?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how. I feel like her avoiding that is going to be more dangerous for her than it is for me.
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't be the first time Orianna had Renshaw in handcuffs, but I don't think it needs. I don't think we need to do that again.
How much do you trust Orianna in?
I trust her implicitly. Absolutely. I don't think she's going to be a problem. I'm more worried for her in trying to hide it. I am also very excited to try and use this remove curse spell.
Me too.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, I'm also worried for how I'm going to keep it together, especially when you put me in like the circle of truth. That whole section, I was like racking my brain. All right, how can I be truthful but like manipulate my words enough to be like that they don't reveal anything? And I was so scared of that and like happening again. But it also is like kind of exciting because it was really fun to kind of play and figure out. All right, how can I puzzle my way through this?
Yeah.
John.
Yes.
Are mother and father getting it on?
Are you asking this question because they called themselves mother and father, or
Yeah,
because they
I think it's
allegedly, or because they allegedly shared the same apartment?
It's
Are
kind
mommy
of both,
and
right?
daddy
Like
fucking.
they're called mother and father. They live in the same like studio apartment. There was one bed in that apartment. There was a box of love letters under the bed. Like,
All true.
Answer the question.
I like the fact that Renshaw doesn't question the sanity of somebody who would write love letters to somebody in their house. He's like, that's a normal thing to do. That's you can do that easily.
yeah.
I mean, without revealing anything about anybody, I do think it's the premise is interesting and feels very much like a romance novel that on paper the relationship between father and mother would be Resbin and Juliet would have a very like Twilight feeling, in the sense that Resbin was in like his like 50s 60s when he would have died, or when he wrote the book 50 years ago, so he would be like 100 years old present day, and Juliet is a 50-year-old, 40-50-year-old gnome.
Yeah.
So like that age gap is big.
It's
But
age
also
gapping.
but also if Resbin died around the time he was 50, then their age matches up the same in present day. And so it's a very like Bella Edward Twilight thing where like they're both look like high school students. They both look like 50-year-old people, but one is actually 120.
And
And
the other's a
so
gnome who will live to be 120, right?
that's true.
Get up
It's a
there.
whole nother element to take into account. So
you're not going to actually tell us if they're fucking?
if they're romantically involved, absolutely not. You have to figure that out yourself.
We needed Eleanor for this.
But I will tell you that there is 100% a book in the trove about a zombie that has been raised from the dead and then fallen in love with someone in the present day. The cult leader, yeah, for sure. All right. As our questions wrap up, one final question for the inn. What was everybody's favorite moment from Act 1?
This was so hard to think about.
I'll start.
I didn't think about
I'm
it.
thinking about it right now.
So think about it right now. My favorite scene, I think, just involved everybody's characters so well. Everybody, like, their character traits really shine through, and it was super fun to play and scary, was the catacombs to the Spindle Maiden. I think as an innkeeper, I loved that episode. I loved to play that episode. It was fun to rewatch. Like, everything that happens, I'm like, oh, that's so Orianna, that's so Eleanor. It's a perfect move by Renshaw. And then it was scary, it was creepy. Yeah, I that episode was awesome to go through.
Other side of the camera. It's good to go back and forth. I don't want just our screen talking the whole time.
Okay.
I don't know if this is like a full final moment, but this is low stakes. I'm gonna say I think my favorite moment was the Dayborn thing, where we thought he died, and then coming into the police department because we're so worried that Venture is getting arrested for it. I have Eleanor like acting like a Karen in the other room, and then Dayborn was just a complete fool. Like, it was absolutely the moment where I lost all faith in that man.
Well, yeah.
And at that point, I was like, if he dies, he dies. Like, this man's an idiot. But it was so funny and fun. And it was just like that perfect little like emotional break from like the beginning of the campaign, the catacombs and all of that, to like Cinderfall.
I like how you didn't lose all faith when he died. It wasn't until he was still alive that you were like, oh, I actually don't trust this man with anything.
You know what? I mean, he died. He got ambushed on the bridge by 2 people. It was 2v1. It wasn't fair. It was when he came back and he was like, that man's a doppelganger. That was like, fuck you.
Get out of
here. That
here,
scene
dude.
was chaotic. Between Eleanor just going crazy in the other room, Dayborn just throwing things at Renshaw, like... That episode was chaotic.
Me, didn't he?
Yeah.
Or did I have to drink the tea?
It was like very superstitions. Yeah. Like, what do you do with a doppelganger?
I hate to say it, but I think my favorite scene in Act 1 is like the moments leading up to and after Eleanor's death, when they're outside and all the depraved are like rushing through.
Yeah.
I think that moment felt most like a movie to me, where I can just watch and see everything happening. And cinematically, it was like beautiful. Like, Eleanor's like was on the ground. Orianna was like standing there with her sword trying to fight off the depraved. She had her necrotic shroud, like her wings were out, like all decrepit. Renshaw was like standing all the way over there, and he has this sphere and he's casting magic trying to get to the other 2 girls. And like that whole scene of like, it was like all slow-mo for me, and I can just see everything happening, and it was beautiful to like watch in my head. And like that scene, I mean, it was so sad to lose a player. Like, it's not the death that was my favorite part, but it was just that scene of it all coming together, the 2 of them making eye contact, like both of their secrets just like kind of like finally out. Like, it was a big moment, like right then.
Yeah.
I think that's my favorite episode to play. Like, even though I died, like that, like the cinematicness of all of that was intense.
That was a very pretty scene.
Yeah, which is cool, because I was like, I knew that the depraved were coming, but like, you guys set everything up, like, especially you ladies set everything up with like in the gardens with like
the gazebo's
on fire. Like, you can see like that like warm like lighting as all like these like dark depraved come ripping through. You have the and right before that you have the battle with Okanor that starts. Like, that
bird creature that was like descending upon Renshaw, and he's trying to fight that off, but also the depraved are running past him, but he doesn't even like care about the big monster. He's just trying to get to the 2 ladies, and like
John, it was also beautiful. Told us that we made the stupidest decision by going to the park, like the gardens. That like tough. Had we gone like into a building, because we talked about it at the beginning, he's like, you could have like been more sheltered and removed from everything, but we put ourselves in the center of combat, which was really cool cinematically. Probably why Eleanor died, but like that was a player choice where we could have gone somewhere else, and he's like, you just went to the worst possible spot.
Yeah, which for like a horror campaign, like, it's so fun for you guys to make like the best informed decisions of your moment, and still in hindsight be like, the characters in this movie make the worst decisions. Like, that's you know what I mean? But like, in the moment, like, you only have so much limited information, and you do the best with what you got.
All right, Jake, last one. What was your favorite moment of Act 1?
I don't know. There were so many good moments, but I honestly can't think of one that involves everybody at the same time.
That's fair.
So
I'm going to talk about me.
Yeah.
Talk about you.
I think my favorite scene, because it was another one that was very like cinematic. almost see this one in my head. We talked about it before on Innsight. It was the scene where Orianna like read the letter that was delivered to my own house and like freaked out and burned the house down, killed someone but didn't kill someone, and then ran out of the building. It was very like Bridgerton to me, and I enjoyed that.
That was a really cool scene because, like, from an innkeeper standpoint, you made the decision to run out, and then you just jumped in and said that you watched, and like everything that happened was like, oh, it's a great call. Oh, it's a great call. Very showed off both of your skills as storytellers for sure. With that, we are going to roll for next Insight's host to see who is going to do it. I got my D4. If it's a 4, I'm going to roll again because that one's me. We got Aubrey on a 1, Tori on a 2.
3.
Tori on a 3. Jake's on 2. That's the one that we haven't rolled yet.
We have not rolled a 2 yet, so we're hoping for a 2.
Get a 2 for Eleanor.
And Eleanor 2.
It's a 3.
That's me.
Yes.
He
it's coming for you.
It's not.
It's coming for you.
The best part is we're always using different D4s. Like it's
I rolled again. It was a 1. I don't know what this man did, but
all right. I guess I will be your next innkeeper when we talk about the first couple episodes of Act 2.
Of Act 2, yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Be some good stuff.
Yes. Thank you for joining us at Insight. Make sure you like and subscribe for more City of Shadows Act 2 as it comes out. To see our one-shots. We have some one-shots we played before the campaign. We have our Halloween one-shot. We have our Christmas one-shot. But until we meet again over another round at the Four Rings Inn.
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
Right Asteris.
Bright Asteris.
Bright Asteris.